before we go any further, let's have a listen to a piece of music from the new Steve Howe album. The LP is called Beginnings. It's quite short, this, but very fine nonetheless. Steve Howe, and this is called Ram. Marvellous piece of film. Steve Howe, music from the album Beginnings, and that was a track called Ram. And there'll be more from Steve later on in the programme. And it's good to see Chris Squire's beautifully titled album, Fish Out of Water, get such deservedly good reviews in the music papers these past few weeks. Blimey, Squire, what an album, was one of the headlines I read. And before I talk with Chris and with Steve Howe, let's hear some music from the Fishes LP. 2 tracks together. And the first is Hold Out Your Hand. Another tremendously impressive piece of film, music from the album Fish Out of Water. Chris Squire, you by my side, and by my side right at this moment is Chris Squire and Steve Howe. Welcome to the programme, both of you. And the first thing to do is congratulate you both on 2 superb albums. I like them both so much. Chris, first of all, how long did it take you to put the album together?
Well, it was interspersed, as it were, between Yes tours. I was conceived. No, I wasn't conceived. I conceived the album, you know, kind of around the end while we were touring last year, and when we got back, I think last November, I started to think about it seriously. And the funny guy you saw in the film there with the top hat, Andrew, he came along. He's an old friend of mine. He used to play organ in an old band called The Sin. He's been working as an arranger for some time. And he came along and helped me kind of with some ideas that we formulated. And I started recording in March, and then for about a month, and then Yes went on the road in April, so that meant we had to break off a couple of weeks before that, and we toured England. And then at the end of that, I had about another 3 weeks, and then we started rehearsing again for the American tour, which we did in the summer. And then when we came home from that, another 2 weeks, Reading, you know, and then after that I was free to finish it. I finished it in about October.
Let me pick off a couple of things from the sleeve. The album, my first solo album, was conceived and recorded in Virginia Waterside at Morgan Studios, London, during the spring and summer of 1975. Written, arranged and produced by Chris Squire, so obviously that implies so much freedom. Chris, how much did you enjoy that freedom related to the situation with the band?
Well, it's a double-edged sword in a way. You know, I mean, it's fantastic to have total control over thing and not, you know, really be on there. But at the same time, you know, when you've got that, then it is all on your shoulders, and you've got to think about everything, especially when it's your song and you've got to play, and you've got to work out how you want the drummer to play and the piano player, and then you've got to go into the control room and do a bit of producing and then a bit of paying the bills, and you know, everything
Yes,
is
right.
like on you.
Right.
So, but I mean, I did enjoy it tremendously, the experience of doing it.
Because the link with Yes, too, on the album, Chris, is well defined, isn't it? But at the same time, really, there's such a strong, to my ear anyway, American influence, right? Despite the fact you were using British musicians.
Yeah.
I mean, does that influence represent your ear at home, the stuff that you listen to when you're listening at home?
I listen to all kinds of music, nationalities. I mean, I have a lot of strange tastes which vary from soul music. I used to like Sly very much, you know, surprisingly enough. And also some of the best songwriters, American songwriters like Paul Simon, Joni Mitchell. I think they're influences on me as a writer, and other people are influences on me as a player. But nobody's ever mentioned that before about American influence, but I'll think about that one.
There's a link too with your album with Yes, obviously, Steve, really. Did you have an idea before you went into the studio what shape the album was going to take?
Yeah, it had been something that was thrown around, you know, for about a year, and I think I did a session, I think it was in March or April of '74, which was a wild session, and at it I did discuss various things with John, and I kind of got the feel for certain numbers that I wanted to do, and John just kind of verified that, really, so that put me in motion to think about arranging it, and thinking about how it was really going to take shape as an album as opposed to individual tracks. So I just prepared really to do the first track that I did with Griffin, so it was kind of a progression, really. It took a while to take shape, really. And especially since I did a few tracks just with a drummer, you know, either Bill or Alan, which was a nice experience, but you know, a hard way to start, you know, putting down tracks. But the link was very, very easy to form, really, because we'd all worked together so much that we trusted each other to work apart now.
Because again, the link really between the two albums is Bill Bruford, too, isn't it, interestingly enough? Yeah.
Turns up.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, because I mean, Patrick's the link, Alan, of course, and Bill Bruford. I mean, had you formulated the musicians you were going to use too, Steve, before you went into the studio?
Yeah, oh yeah. There was a few times when I called on Patrick on the night before, when I'd had the feeling my ideas were right, that I should have Patrick there as well. And he obliged fantastically and learnt songs very quickly, which he can do, of course. And we, you know, I conveyed the arrangement. The real stage you're kind of pointing to is really, you know, the time when you actually, you know what songs, but the arrangements have got to be really condensed and worked out. And I think that was the time when I thought I wanted others, you know, and I kept thinking, well, can I do it? You know? And as Chris said, it's a two-way thing. There's benefits, you know, of making the decisions, and then there's times when you almost turn around and there's nobody else actually to give you an opinion, so you've got to...
Have you been relating a lot in that sense between John's album too, between the three of you, really, and listening to the things you're doing?
At sort of the rough mix stage, yeah. You know, Chris brought a tape on the tour, and we all did, in fact, of ideas.
When we were on the American tour, we played a few things, you know, of each other's, and you know, gave our little comments, you know, which was all very good and helpful. It was nice, you know, to know that as a band we were interested in each other's solo projects, which you know, is something that we wanted to establish, because we did plan to break out a bit this year and try a few different things, and you know, we all got behind that.
I wish we weren't, but sadly we're running out of time, because I wanted to get on to Yes, all kinds of things. But Chris, Steve, thanks for coming in and see us.
Thanks.
And really it's appropriate too that we end with music from Steve's album. Two pieces from the LP. The first, filmed with Steve along with Patrick Moraz, and this is the title track called Beginnings. We've just been chatting too while we've been watching that film, and there is a possibility of, towards the end of next year anyway, a kind of 5-day Yes Proms. Venue is completely uncertain, but the idea being that each of the albums are featured on separate nights, and yeah, right, and the possibility of Yes coming together towards the end to solidify anything. It's a thought anyway, and I just wanted to communicate that to you. Steve Howe on film there with Patrick Moraz, and music from Beginnings. But next week now I'll be here along with the Straubs and Ace, both in the studio, and the programme starts next Tuesday at 10:35. That said, let's end tonight with more from Steve's LP and a track called Break Away From It All. See you next Tuesday. Until then, good night.